All right, here's a little update on the truck. So a couple weeks back, took it to Deaver, got the rear R81s upgraded to a R81 HD from Deaver because I was running the dual spares, CO2 tank, and a jack in the back. Basically, my back end was, sagging a little bit more. Just it had more weight in the back, so they changed the rear spring, did some stuff to it, and then upgraded it so then it has more height back into the truck because I was sitting a little too low. So now that's been fixed, and we went out to, prior to that, we went out to Big Bear and went and did a trail down there, and within Big Bear there was a section that had a nice little run to it down the trail, and then it had a nice little loft that just sends you out a little bit.
But it was worth it.
It was fun. So I hit that a couple times. At one of the points, the last one that I did, it basically went out and went into more of a rut, basically tire ruts, and then the center was built up from previous rain or whatever have you. And when I landed, I basically came down and bottomed out on the skid plate, which basically pushed in the skid plate, dented it in, no big deal. And then the bracket that the whole bumper is, welded to, that bolts to the factory cross member, basically pushed back enough to where after I was hearing some grind, like some weird creaking and grinding noise, thought maybe a CV axle was going out, but that's not what the case was. Later, I discovered that basically the factory cross member bracket that these skid plates bolt to is real thin, and it's like a cupped, C-channel that basically welds into place and holds the factory plastic skid plate and an aluminum skid plate that goes across to the back cross member. That had pushed back and was rubbing against my steering rack, and since the steering rack got a little bit of movement in it, it was kind of grinding and making noise. So that's what I discovered was the issue a couple months ago. Hadn't got it fixed yet because I was waiting to take it in for a bunch of different work all at one time, and it wasn't that big of an issue, but I knew that basically I needed to reinforce that section because if it happened once, I was going to happen again. So fast forward to last week, and we go out to the Desert Dime down for Mob and Night Run out in Barstow, and because I had just got the rear springs done, I hadn't drove the truck yet, and we started the trail, the Night Run trail, and I hit a few things and the truck felt really good. I was feeling my groove and obviously getting excited, so I just stayed in it and I was just doing my thing. Well, at some point I hit something in the trail. It was obviously a rock. I came down off of something and compressed and hit the rock. Whether it was stuck in the ground or it was a loose rock, I have no idea, but it was such a hard hit that I have the bumper loose right now too because I'm going to move it around and show you guys. But so that's the hit right there that I took. This bracket should have been angled like this. Well, if you see it, it completely smashed it in. And so that hit was so hard that I'll show you over here. That's the skid plate right there. That section that the rock, the skid plate obviously is upside down, right side up. So that the rock went across it and, obviously dented that in and took that out. But the worst part of it all, I've talked about on social media that my steering went out on that run, and everyone's like, upgrade your steering, it's time to upgrade your steering, blah, 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 blah. Well, these trucks have e-steer on them, and there's really not a upgrade yet for the 19 and newers. For the previous model there is, but for the 19 and newers, I haven't seen anyone that makes anything specific for these yet. But besides all that, I've had no issues with my steering, and I wanted to point out in this video my self-inflicted issue to the steering. So obviously I hit this rock super hard, enough to dent this all in, right? Well, then the next issue is that, like I said earlier, this bracket right here should be, straight up and down. Instead, it's pushed back. You can see where it impacted there and this whole thing is just completely deformed back. That's because of the first initial bottom out, G out in Big Bear, and then now I hit this rock and just completely pushed it back. And this is where it was rubbing from the Big Bear incident. And furthermore, after the hit at the Desert Dime down from Auburn night run, it hit so hard that this whole thing collapsed back into this area and put so much pressure on it that it cracked the E-steer. So that whole rack and pinion, this area right here, which this is probably the electric motor that helps. I'm not too familiar with it yet. I still got to take it all apart and kind of just discover what exactly this area is, but I'm guessing this is the electric motor that helps it steer. Well, it cracked the housing and obviously it defaulted and it's not working. So that's how I lost my steering. Is this is broken and it's not working, and when it comes down to it, it's self-inflicted from the rock that I hit. It was so hard that it basically ruined all this area and pushed it back. So one thing, if a guy has a 19 and newer Chevy or GMC, you need to consider, I didn't realize it myself, but this bracket that all these skid plates are going to, whether it's a skid plate or not, but this is basically what is taking the absorption of an impact, which this thing is not that thick at all. So go into it. Now I'm going to have this all cut out. I'm going to cut this out today so I can alleviate the pressure off the steering rack, and I'm going to try to get a replacement and get this whole thing replaced before I take it into the shop. And they're going to finish cleaning up all this area and build a new lower portion of this front cross member and make it real stout so it can take more of an impact and not fold back and obviously break this, because this right here, this is a $1,400 boo-boo. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. I mean, this is just one of those things. I did it. I was having fun and I pushed the truck and I hit a rock and I did it. The steering rack has not given me any issues prior to that, and I don't feel like I'm going to have any issues with it. This truck obviously has certain limitations to it for what it is, suspension travel and everything else in between, but I love the truck and I feel it goes really good for what it is, again, with the certain limitations of understanding. But this is what happened. I self-inflicted this breaking, and it broke. So now I need to replace the steering rack, and then I have a shop that we've already discussed, basically, cutting all this out and reforming it and resetting up the skid plate, going back together, utilizing all the rest of the tubes that go up. But he's got some ideas of what we're going to do to basically reinforce all that, and then possibly reinforce another skid plate that goes back to the rear cross member, so then we can protect the diff as well. Luckily enough, that aluminum skid plate, even with the harsh hit that it took here, I did not damage my differential, which is the next big thing that you need to watch out for. Other than that, over on this side, there's really this area right here is low, and then this right here is low, and we have to protect those areas. But that's basically what had happened, and I just wanted to show this, because when I was building this truck, and as I am still building this truck, because it's never ending, you still gotta always maintain it, and you have fun, you do damage like this and you fix it. But these are the things that if I would have known this ahead of time, I would have addressed this going into it, such as some of the other things that I addressed. So hopefully this helps someone else. Also, it just gives a little bit more clarity of what happened on the night run, and when I said I lost my steering, this gives clarity of exactly what had happened. But otherwise, I'm really having fun with the truck. Obviously, these are just the downfalls of owning a toy like this. And we'll get it fixed, get it back together, and get it ready for some more fun this season. And yeah, we've got Nick's truck coming apart too right now. And he's putting some seats in it. He just got some PRP seats, so he's putting that all together today. And hopefully we're going to have that back together so he can be riding around this week with some new PRP seats in it. And I'm going to try to cut out all that lower cross member today and get it to the point where I can start unbolting that steering rack and get a replacement one coming this week, so I can get it slammed in so the truck is mobile. Got the damaged section cut out. As you can see, this is all that factory section underneath the cross member that the skid plate bolts to factory, and that obviously gave away. It's just really super thin. And here's what it looks like with it all cut out. And as you can see, it impacted right there and pushed back on the steering rack motor area and cracked it. So now that I got this out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and get a replacement steering rack, get that changed over, and then get it over to the fab shop, and gonna have them make a new cross section nice and sturdy that we can put the skid plate going to, and then maybe some more bracing underneath it too as well, just to help out and protect all that. Obviously kind of sucks when you look at it. All this is exposed, and all that was in front of it was just this small thin section of metal that obviously collapsed under impact. I did hit a really good sized rock, but still, that, I mean, we could beef that up and make it better. But everything else is fine. There's no damage to any of this stuff. That's all good. We just gotta cut out that metal section and make something new. I can drive it right now. It literally, it's worse than a dump truck without steering. I mean, it's really bad. So I don't even want to pull it out of the driveway just because it's so hard to drive. So I'm going to try to get that changed out so I can make it over to the fabrication shop that's going to be working on this truck next and getting that all fixed up. And then we'll get it back together and get a video of it all back together. And then we'll be taking it out here soon. Season's about to start, and we're about to have some good fun this year. Thanks for watching.